Welcome to CML INFOTECH. My name is Muhammad Ali, Senior Technical Instructor. Today, we're going to talk about OSI reference model and deep into each layer and their concept. I believe we were discussed about few topic on last session talking about OSI presentation layer, application layer, presentation layer, and session layer. So in a simple way, application layer will help us to create a data, and presentation layer will save the data, and session layer will close the data. So in detail, let's say, as we said before, you have data which you will be creating from application layer, which is layer 7. Then this data that you can create with any application layer software. As an example,
Hi,
MS
sir.
Word. Yeah, go ahead. Am I audible?
Hi, sir. I can able to hear.
Yeah, okay, great. Great. So in the application layer, we are creating a data with an application software, MS Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or something similar to that. The moment you create a data, then generally we are going to save the data, which will happen in the presentation layer, which is layer 6. When you save the data, you can choose the extension, something like .exe or .doc, etc. So this will happen in the presentation layer. The moment you put, or when you save your data into a specific destination, like in the computer somewhere, the moment you save, automatically it will select the respective extension. Other than this, in the presentation layer, there are 3 more activities. The one we call encoding, which means converting data from your human language to a machine language, from an English to a respective computer language, which we call as encoding. Then there is an option for encryption, which you can convert your data into a clipper text format so no one can read those data. And the encryption is a big topic. You just need to understand that the data, when you send to somebody, those who knows those respective encryption protocol can read. ഞാനൊരു ഡേറ്റ ഒരാൾക്ക് അയക്കുവാന്ന് വിചാരിക്കാം. ഞാൻ ഈ ഡേറ്റനെ കൺവേർട്ട് ചെയ്യും സംതിങ് ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് ഫോർമാറ്റ്. സോ ഞാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കല്ലാതെ മറ്റാർക്കും അത് വായിച്ചാൽ മനസ്സിലാവരുത്. ദാറ്റ്സ് കോൾഡ് എൻക്രിപ്ഷൻ. நம்ம ஒரு டேட்டா சென்ட் பண்ணும்போது அந்த ஒரிஜினல் ஃபார்மேட்ல இருந்து அதனை வேறொரு ஃபார்மேட்லேக்கு மாற்றுவீங்களோ? வை? பிகாஸ் ஃபார் their security. ஸோ நம்ம யாருக்கு அனுப்புறீங்களோ அவர் தவிர வேற யாருக்கும் அது ரீட் பண்ணக்கூடாது. This is what we call as an encryption. There are some encryption protocol as well, like DES, 3DES, AES. These are some of the encryption protocol. So this is another activity. Then the other one is called compression. Compression, which means converting or compressing your data from the original size to some other size. Let's say we're going to use WinZip, WinRAR to reduce our data size. This is called compression. So when you save your data from the presentation layer, along with when you save, this also going to happen. And the encoding is the default features. The encryption and the compression, if you want, you can. It's up to us. So once you've done all this, then your presentation layer job is done. Now, when you create a data, the data must be come to your presentation layer. Your data must be reached to your presentation layer. That is another rule. When the data which you created in the application layer while coming into your presentation layer, this will comes like your data, let's say your data plus application layer header will come along with your data to the presentation layer. Once you received your data plus your application layer header, then from the presentation layer, they're going to add the presentation layer header. So now you may have a question, what is header? Application layer header, which means the application layer protocol, which we're going to add in the application layer. So now again, a new topic called protocol. So do not be confused. There are many new terminology that which we need to understand, which we need to learn. So let's say you create a data and the data wants to travel from one place to another. So every layer you can consider it as a different place. So when you enter to any room with your file, just think like this. You have a file, you need to get an approval in order to submit to somebody. So you came to the room and to get an approval, you're coming to me. I'm an application layer. I will add some info and I will forward it to another desk. The another desk is nothing but your presentation layer. The presentation layer will add something from his side, adding in the sense, let's say I'm going to put my seal and forward it to him. He will add his seal and he will forward it to another. The way every layer will add something into your existing data. That something is nothing but a protocol. In internet or in the computer world, if you like to send something to someone through a computer, through a mobile, just to transfer, this will happen through a protocol, which means a set of rules. Let's say you are typing, Facebook in the type application layer. The moment you type Facebook, you will get a protocol called HTTP or HTTPS. This HTTP or HTTPS is the application layer protocol. So the application layer header, which means when you open HTTPS, you can see many fields in the application layer header. മനസ്സിലാവുന്നുണ്ടോ? Application layer നകത്ത് നിങ്ങൾ create ചെയ്തൊരു data. Let's say, what's your name? I'm going to ask to someone via Facebook chat. So this info will forward it to the destination team or person via HTTPS protocol. Let's say we do web HTTP, then we do something on that. So the moment you type something HTTPS, the data will carry HTTPS and will forward into a presentation layer. So the carrying HTTPS we called as application layer header. So here your data, then your application layer header, which means your HTTP. Then the presentation layer header. So what does it mean by presentation layer header? Again, presentation layer services or presentation layer protocol. We said that encryption. If you enable encryption in the presentation layer, maybe DES or 3DES or AES or HMAC or SHA, there are many. So let's say the presentation layer header, which means the presentation layer protocol. Let's say DES. This will add. Then it comes to the next layer, which means your session layer. From the session layer, it will create a specific session to your destination. Along with that, while you save the data, while you close the data, this will happen, will cross-check few additional things from the session layer. Example, duplex, full duplex, half duplex, and simplex. Then the speed. Then AAA, one of the hottest topic, one of the interesting topic called AAA. So this field will cross-check from the session layer. In the real scenario, all this layer from application presentation session, all this layer we call as application layer, layer 7. So we will not think individually when you create a data, when you save the data. We just create something, then we close or we save, that's it. But when you do troubleshooting, you will be thinking about individual layer. There you need a knowledge about individual layer, unless it's just creating a data and closing. So when you create a data application layer, when you save the data, it converted into a specific extension presentation layer, then you close the data. When you do close, you can verify with the AAA. Then the data coming from presentation layer to your session layer. When you come to the session layer, your data plus application layer header plus presentation layer header, then what we call as session layer header altogether. Still your data as data only. So the size of your data will be increments while crossing every layer by adding their specific layer informations. Hope you understood. So the session layer header is nothing but a protocol information from the session layer, which means AAA. I'll let you know what is AAA in detail. So this is all about your application presentation session layer. We'll go back to the screen. This is application presentation session layer, like creating your data, saving your data. So in the presentation, you're going to be encrypt your data, or you can compress your data if required. This is an individual application layer. You application layer application Word Excel app data. That's called application layer. Within the computer, within the network, internet way. So you can choose any app in order to create your data, which comes under application layer. Then you have a presentation layer, which you will convert your data into a specific extension. Along with that, you will also have your encoding, encryption, compression, which you are converting your data into some digital signature, certificate, PSK. There are many options for encryption and decryption. We will be touching into the encryption decryption area when we have VPN class, because the encryption and decryption concept we will be talking more about, including the hands-on experience from the VPN session, inshallah. Then, as I said, protocols. Protocols is nothing but a set of rules which will follow in order to send and receive the data. ഒരു ഡേറ്റ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് നിന്ന് മറ്റൊരു സ്ഥലത്തേക്ക് അയക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ആ അയക്കുന്ന ആളെ പേരാണ് പ്രോട്ടോകോൾ. ഒരാൾ ക്യാരി ചെയ്യുക. അപ്പം നിങ്ങളിൽ ഒരാൾ എനിക്കൊരു ഇൻഫോ തന്ന് വേറെ ആൾക്ക് കൊടുക്കുക എന്ന് പറയണമെങ്കിൽ ഐ ആം ആക്ടിങ് ആസ് എ പ്രോട്ടോകോൾ in order to transfer your data. Example, you can see HTTP, DNS, SMTP, SSH. These are some of the protocols, and there are 65,535 protocols, which means 16 bits, 2 raised to 6. So every protocol have their own job, their own role to play in the network world. Then there is a port number. The protocol and port numbers are same. Like if you think, ഒരു റോഡിൽ ഒരു വണ്ടി ഓടണമെങ്കിൽ ഒരു വഴി വേണം. ഇപ്പം ലെറ്റ്സ് സേ 4-വീലേഴ്സിന് ഒരു സ്പെസിഫിക് പാത്ത്, ട്രെയിനിന് വേറൊരു പാത്ത്, സേ ബൈസിക്കിൾസിന് ഒരു പാത്ത്. ഇങ്ങനെ ഓരോ വണ്ടിക്കും ഓരോ റോഡുണ്ട് എന്നതുപോലെ ഇവിടെ വണ്ടി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വെഹിക്കിൾ എന്ന് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ പ്രോട്ടോകോൾസ്, അത് പോകുന്ന വഴിയാണ് പോർട്ട് നമ്പേഴ്സ്. സോ 65,535 പോർട്സിന് അത്ര തന്നെ പ്രോട്ടോകോൾസും ഉണ്ട്. In that we have a well-known and registered and the private. ഈ well-known എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോർട്സ് ഓൾറെഡി ഓരോ സ്പെസിഫിക് സർവീസിന് ഗ്ലോബലി അസൈൻഡ് ആണ്. Maybe you heard about HTTP for any വെബ് www any വെബ്സൈറ്റ് ആക്സസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ HTTP അല്ലെങ്കിൽ HTTPS എന്നൊട്ട് അടിക്കും. ഇതിൻ്റെ പോർട്ട് നമ്പർ ഓൾറെഡി ഫിക്സ്ഡ് ആണ്, പോർട്ട് നമ്പർ 80. ഇപ്പം 0 to 1023 അകത്ത് വരുന്ന പോർട്ട് നമ്പേഴ്സൊക്കെ വെൽ നോൺ പോർട്ട്സ് എന്നാണ് പറയുക. அது வந்து ஒரு டேட்டா ஒரு இடத்துல இருந்து வேறு இடத்துக்கு டிரான்ஸ்ஃபர் பண்ணும்போது அதுக்கு ஒரு ப்ரோட்டோகால் ஒரு போர்ட் நம்பர்ஸ் தேவை வேணும். ஸோ ஒரு டேட்டா டிரான்ஸ்ஃபர் பண்ணும்போது எந்த டேட்டா அதுக்கு தேவையான போர்ட் நம்பர்ஸ் ஓ ப்ரோட்டோகால்ஸ் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கலி செலக்ட் பண்ணும். ஸோ இஃப் யூ have a port number, of course you should also have a protocols. It would be each other. So as an example, you can see some of the application layer protocols, and every layer have protocols. Each and every, we have a 7 layers and every layer have protocols. So let's say HTTP, which is accessing HTML content and the port number 80. So if you do not want HTTP, you can block port number 80 or you can block HTTP. Similarly, you can see that HTTPS, which is secure, SNTP for email services. Then you can see for DNS for name resolution, Telnet for remote access. Most of the protocols we will come across individually with the practical. So don't worry about all this. You just need to think, you just need to keep in mind every layer have their own protocols, their own port numbers. And we will touch most of the protocols during our session in order to understand the why that protocol is required and what is a port number, how we can use. And you can see one line that I mentioned here, see Windows System 32 drivers etc services. Here you can see your port number and protocols. You need to check in your laptop during your exercise time. So let's say I'm going to copy this. See Windows, I'll show you that. You can see my screen. Here you can see that Windows System 32 drivers etc, which I copied from the material. You can see here services. Just click open in Notepad. So let's say in the Notepad, you can see here there are protocol, let's say Telnet, one of the protocol, and port number 23, SMTP port number 25, and let's say FTP. There are a lot of protocols until 65535 and each protocol with their own services. If you filter port number, let's say HTTP, you can see the port number 80 for web access. Okay, so what you need to understand from this, every layer will have their own protocols and port number for their own services. Okay, so if you prepare something to send via HTML or via web, you will be adding a protocol called HTTP from the application layer towards to the down application presentation session. You will have HTTP along with that. We will do this to check in the real scenario how the HTTP works, inshallah, once we completed the theory. Then the session layer. So the session layer will have some of the services, as we said, authentication, authorization, and accounting. The one of this mode is the transmission mode, which is nothing but what kind of mode that you have between your sender and receiver. Keep in mind, the sender and receiver must be the same mode. So we have a 3, simplex, half and full, which means simplex, you know, the radio, always one-way direction. We cannot talk to back. That is called simplex as a radio. The half duplex means, let's say, walkie-talkie. You can talk both the way, but only one time on one side. Half duplex എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ റേഡിയോ ഒറ്റ അങ്ങോട്ട് സംസാരിച്ചതിന് ശേഷം പിന്നെ വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഇങ്ങോട്ട്, അപ്പം at the time one way. That is called half duplex. Full duplex means which we do both side at the same time, two-way communication. That's full duplex. So make sure that you have configured the respective duplex on both sides. Most of the case we do full duplex. Then the triple A. Triple A is one of the interesting chapter, by the way, and more into real scenario, especially nowadays for the security concept. We will touch more into in a practical session, but I'll give you a brief idea what is triple A. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. This is what we call triple A. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. So what is authentication? You know that when you log into any devices, you're going to give username and password. Maybe your mobile always have a passcode, or your laptop have username and password. This is called authentication, to verify the username and password when you do authentication. Think about when you type the username and password, what will happen on the backend on the backside of the screen? Think your computer have a username and password stored somewhere. You created a username and password. When you log into when you log into your computer or any respective device, if you put the wrong password, you cannot log in. It gives you an error. So how the computer will come to know that you typed the wrong password? Or if you put the right password, it will get into login. So how the device knows that whether you're putting right password or wrong password? It's an interesting question, right? If you put the wrong password, the device will not accept. So how the system will know that you're putting right password, you're putting wrong password, etc. Generally, if you want to put a username and password, you need to create the username and password first. ഒരു ഡിവൈസ് ഒരു കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിനകത്ത് നിങ്ങൾ ലോഗിൻ ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ യൂസർ നെയിം ആൻഡ് പാസ്വേഡ് വേണം. അങ്ങനെ വേണമെങ്കിൽ ആദ്യം നിങ്ങൾ ആ ഡിവൈസിൽ യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കണം. ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ പാസ്വേഡ് ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. അപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്താൽ ആ യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്യുന്നത് സാധാരണ രീതിയിൽ ഒരു കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പം സാം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ഫോൾഡറിലാണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും ഉണ്ടാവുക. ഓക്കെ, സോ നിങ്ങളുടെ യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും സാം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ഫോൾഡറിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പം ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി സ്റ്റോർ ആയതിനു ശേഷം നിങ്ങൾ ആ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിനകത്ത് ടൈപ്പ് ചെയ്യുക. ലെറ്റ്സ് സേ നിങ്ങൾ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത യൂസർ നെയിം യൂസർ, പാസ്വേഡ് നിങ്ങൾ ടൈപ്പ് ചെയ്യുമ്പം റോങ് യൂസർ നെയിമും റോങ് പാസ്വേഡും അടിച്ചെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കാം. How does the system come to know your given input is wrong or false? നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും അടിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത് റോങ് ആണെന്ന് എങ്ങനെ സിസ്റ്റത്തിന് തിരിച്ചറിയും? Again, as we said earlier, every service is going to happen through protocols. നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു സർവീസസ് കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത് ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച സ്ഥലത്തേക്ക് എത്തിക്കുന്നത് പ്രോട്ടോകോൾസ് ആണ്. ஏதாவது ஒரு சர்வீஸ் எக்ஸ்பேண்ட் பண்ணணும்னு இருந்தால் எல்லா சர்வீஸுமே ஒரு ப்ரோட்டோகால் வச்சு தான் ஒர்க் ஆகும். ஸோ ஹியர் ஆல்சோ வி ஹாவ் அ ப்ரோட்டோகால்ஸ். Let's say for authentication in the system level, generally there is a protocol called NTLM. Can you see that authentication screen? You can see the protocol NTLM version 2, Kerberos, MS Chat, Microsoft Challenge, Handshaking Authentication Protocol, PAP, EAP. There are many. So when you type something into your device, based on the device, based on the app within the device, they're going to select the respective protocols to check your given input is right or wrong, which means നിങ്ങളൊരു യൂസർ നെയിം പാസ്വേഡും അടിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതിനെ ഈ പറയുന്ന പ്രോട്ടോകോൾസ് ഏതെങ്കിലും എടുത്തിട്ട് ഇതിന്റെ ഡാറ്റാബേസുമായിട്ട് കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യും. അത് റൈറ്റ് ആണെങ്കിൽ റിപ്ലൈ മെസ്സേജ് വരും, റൈറ്റ് ആണ് ലോഗിൻ ചെയ്യും, റോങ് ആണെങ്കിൽ അത് accept ചെയ്യില്ല. So this is going to happen in the authentication stage. So to verify the given username and password whether it is right or wrong. Then we have authorization. Authorization is nothing but what the user can do on that network. Let's say I am giving you a privilege to the system. As an example, we all are in one company. let's say CML Infotech, and I am the admin of that company, and you are a new employee into that company, inshallah. So when you log into our company, we will be issue a laptop and the username. Okay. So when I give you a laptop with a specific username based on your user, based on your name, and when you log into the system with the given username and password, what you can do on that system? Can you shut down? Can you restart? Can you delete? Can you format? Can you do so and so and so? ഒരു കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിനകത്ത് നിങ്ങൾ ലോഗിൻ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ആ ലോഗിൻ ചെയ്ത യൂസർ നെയിമും പാസ്വേഡും വെച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിനകത്ത് എന്തൊക്കെ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും, ഏതൊക്കെ ഫോൾഡർ ഓപ്പൺ ചെയ്യാം, ഏതൊക്കെ ഫയൽ ഓപ്പൺ ചെയ്യാം, ഏതൊക്കെ വെബ്സൈറ്റുകൾ ഓപ്പൺ ചെയ്യാം, എന്തെല്ലാം, whatever that you can do. This is we call as authorization, giving the privileges to the user in order them to do their services. ഒരാൾ ഒരു സിസ്റ്റത്തിൽ ലോഗിൻ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ആ സിസ്റ്റത്തിൽ അവർക്ക് എന്തൊക്കെ ചെയ്യണം? ஒரு யூசர் ஒரு சிஸ்டத்துக்குள்ள லாகின் பண்ணியிருந்தா அந்த சிஸ்டத்துக்குள்ள அந்த யூசருக்கு எதெல்லாம் பண்ணலாம், எதை ஃபார்மேட் பண்ணலாம், எதை ஓப்பன் பண்ணலாம், எதை க்ளோஸ் பண்ணலாம், இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு செட் ஆஃப் ரூல்ஸ் அண்ட் ரெகுலேஷன்ஸ், privileges we will provide. That is we generally called authorization. Then we have accounting. Accounting is nothing but to put the time slot. Let's say you are coming to join in the morning 10 o'clock until 5 o'clock. That's your working hours. If you try to log in after 5 with the same username and password, you cannot. This is what we call accounting. Or you have an access control system in the company. Like you put your finger to enter to your office. After 5 o'clock, if you try to put your finger, you cannot, because the time set until 5. This specified concept we call as accounting. Next, we have PDU. Keep in mind, you're gonna learn a lot of new concepts, new terminologies, and you have to understand each one, which is very important for us to drive our session further, which will go through in depth in the later session, inshallah. PDU, protocol data unit. It's quite simple, very easy. PDU. What does PDU means? Let's say I explained, here you can see that I said data. In the data, you're going to add layer 7, application layer header. What does the mean by header? Any protocol respective to that specific layer, you're going to add called header. നിങ്ങളുടെ അപ്ലിക്കേഷൻ ലെയറിനകത്ത് ഒരു HTTP റിലേറ്റഡ് ഒരു സർവീസ് ആണ് ജനറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഡേറ്റയുടെ കൂടെ HTTP ആഡ് ചെയ്യും. അതാണ് ലെയർ 7ന്റെ ഹെഡർ. അങ്ങനെ നിങ്ങൾ ഓരോ ലെയറിനകത്തും അതാത് ലെയറിന്റെ ഹെഡർ ആഡ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതിനെ ഒരു സ്പെസിഫിക് പേരിൽ അറിയപ്പെടും. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് PDU. When you add a specific layer header into a data, the output of the entire piece are called as PDU. Here you can see this in the application layer. When you add data with your application layer header, then we called as data. In other way, let's say here we have in the application layer 7. Okay, this is presentation layer 6. This is session layer what layer? Layer 5. This is, let's say, transport layer, which is layer 4. Example. Here in the application layer, I have a data. Here I have a data. Every layer I have a data. Okay. Kindly concentrate. Data. I'm going to add plus application layer header. Example, what going to add? HTTPS. Okay. In the presentation layer, I am going to receive application layer header, which is HTTPS, plus I am going to add presentation layer header, maybe encryption, or respective to the presentation layer, any protocols. Clear? Now, the session layer, receive the entire information from the presentation layer, which means data plus application layer header plus presentation layer header plus session layer header, which means maybe AAA informations. Then I'm going to add transport layer. I'm receiving session layer information into a transport layer. So what will happen? Can someone say what's going to happen? Please, somebody has to say something. In the transport layer, what will happen? They're going to add session layer informations, which means data plus application layer header, then presentation layer header, then session layer header, then transport layer header, which means transport layer protocol, whatever it is. Example, TCP will come across inshallah. Okay, so here you can see this. Every layer you have a data, plus you have the specific layer information, which we call as header. When you add data plus that specific layer information, then they will call with a respective name, a new name. In application layer, when you add application layer header into a data, we call as data. In the presentation layer also we call as data. In the session layer also we call as data, but in the transport layer we call as segment. So this outcome, the name we called as PDU, protocol data unit. So the question, what is the layer 7 PDU? Called data. What is the transport layer PDU name? What we need to say? Segment. The same way, when you go for network layer, you will get all the transport layer info plus the network layer header, then we call as packet. Every layer, once we receive the info from the upper layer, and when we add the respective layer info, then the output we call as a PDU. For the network layer, we call as layer 3. So here, instead of saying data, application, presentation, everything, we can simply say that what we received, segment, right? Segment we received from the transport layer, then we are going to add network layer header, which means example IP address. Then we call this as packet. Did you understand? This is the concept of PDU. Okay. So let's say fine. So we are reaching to transport layer. Any question? You have to clearly understand about this outcome. This is the outcome when you're talking about OSA layer. Every layer will have the data plus their layer header will adding to the received layer. Then they're going to come with a new name called PDU, which every layer have their own PDU name called application presentation session, the PDU name called data. When it reaches to the transport layer, the name called segment. Then the segment comes to the network layer, adding network layer header, example IP. Don't think only IP, there are many. Just an example, we set IP. Then the name we call as a packet. Then it comes to another layer, the another layer which again data link layer, which is a layer 2. Then the layer 2 will receive the packet, plus from the layer 2 we're going to add MAC address, then we call as a frame. We will come across in the upcoming class. So hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for all. If you have any queries, kindly reach us. Thank you. Have a good day.